I'm out here at Portland Nursery on Stark Street. I'm with Sarah. Sarah, we're coming out of winter. It's springtime. It's a beautiful day. Now's the time to start thinking about natives in our yard.
It is. We've seen such an increase in people expanding their backyard certification from the Portland Audubon Society, and it's so great. Natives are such a great thing to be planting because they not only are good for the environment, take less water, all of that, but for the native pollinators that we have here, which are, as most people know, very important and in need of a little bit of our help.
That's right. You talk about those natives. There's so many benefits to them that, for a landscape, and you talk about pollinators being one of those. So why is it important to have these pollinators in our yards?
Yeah, well, pollinators in general are just really important because they pollinate all of our food. So we as humans really rely greatly on pollinators to do their job, to keep us fed. And pollinators are in somewhat of a crisis, a lot of pollinators are, and they really need that additional food source. They need us to provide these plants that give them pretty much everything that they need regarding food, habitat, protection from winter elements and sun and all of the things. So if you are going for a backyard certification, adding some help to the pollinators is great, and you might be adding some that are just beautiful that you didn't even realize are also great for pollinators.
Because you've picked out some here, and some of these plants, and we'll go through these, but they have some really great blooms.
Oh yeah, I mean this one right here, Ribes sanguineum, is actually one of my all-time favorite plants in general. Not to mention it's native, good for pollinators, all of those things. It's going to attract hummingbirds, which everyone loves to see hummingbirds attracted to their yard as well. And the blooms on them are just so glorious. I mean, they're show-stopping. They come pretty early in the spring, which is always nice because we're just craving blooms at that point. But they remind me of just kind of like a bunch of grapes. I don't know, I get kind of almost like a Roman feel when I look at them. Like they're just such an elegant, gorgeous plant. And so I've got this in my yard and I love it.
Because some people think of natives and think of these kind of real rangy, not real attractive, which there are some of those. But like you said, the Ribes is actually an attractive shrub in your yard.
Definitely. And I mean, if you aren't going for the certification, you can always be mixing in, other plants as well and using them as ornament. And then you're still adding some of the benefits of natives, without necessarily going through all the work of the certification. But yes, it's a gorgeous one. Another one that we really love is the native Columbine. This is it here.
It doesn't look like much this time of year. But.
We promise that there's something in that pot. So, they go dormant in the winter, and they have quite an unusual bloom that does catch a lot of attention because it is gorgeous and different, just the way that I don't even know how to really describe, almost like a rocket ship or something. I don't know.
And because there's lots of different, it brings up a good point, because there's lots of different varieties of Columbines that you'll see out on the market. This one is the actual native one. Mm-hmm. So Sarah, obviously the Columbine doesn't look like much this year, but it has a lot of promise for later.
Yes.
But there are some that do have some year-round interest.
Yeah, so we've got here the tall Oregon grape, Mahonia aquifolium, and as you can see, it keeps its leaves year-round. I'm not the biggest fan of how it looks, but when it gets to the fall and you've got some of the gorgeous fall color and some of the really bright colored flowers, that is when it does stand out, and a lot of people really, really, really do love it. Yeah. So yeah, and then we also have so as far as natives go, there are some that aren't as showy, but there are just a ton that are very beautiful as well. And so one of my favorites, we don't have in at this moment, but the native lupine. And I mean, just the Oregon landscape in general is gorgeous, and there's just so many options to work with.
But you do a lot of seeds for a lot of these varieties.
Yeah, and we just started carrying this seed line, which I am just really, really impressed with, called Willamette Wildlings. And so we've got here lupine seed. We will carry the native lupine as well a little bit later in the year. But they've also got these mixes. So like this one here is a specific meadow wildflower native mix for people who have deer that come along. Yeah. So they're thinking about about people that are going to have the deer coming and munching on all their little baby plants. So that's a great option. We've also got this like butterfly knee-high wildflower mix. So there's a ton of seeds in there. We're really lucky to have this brand with us. You know, grown here in Oregon, native. So.
And, you know, and you have this big native section here at the nursery, and like you're talking about, you know, some of this stuff is not in yet. So, so there's probably you need to check back.
Yeah, and that's one of the beautiful things about a garden. As someone who sells plants, we usually tend to bring those things in when they are in bloom so people can see what they're looking like. And so the beauty of coming and visiting multiple times is that if you're buying things that are in bloom as you're visiting, you're going to have this succession in your garden as well, where you've got the year-round interest and something always blooming. Yeah. So yes, we are definitely going to be expanding as the weather gets nicer, and we're so lucky to have a gorgeous day today.
Yeah. And you guys have lots of information on your website as far as if you're looking for natives. And you can always come out here to the Stark Street store or over to the Division store and talk to any of your knowledgeable staff about natives. So,
yes.
Sarah, it's been great being out here. Thanks for a little education on the natives, and we're looking forward to getting in our garden and planting.
Thank you.
Thanks.